Ba-la-la-la-la-la. 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 Da-da. Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be talking about the new X-Men 97 show, and I cannot wait to get going because this show is everything that I've been asking for over the past little while. It's got the great animation, it's got the great storytelling, it's got a little bit of dicey dialogue, but what do you expect? It's a Marvel show. You can't get everything that you ask for, right? But let's get started. This is going to be a great review because I got a lot of good things to say about this show. This will be a full season review, you guys, so there will be a lot of spoilers. You won't be able to break down the season without getting into spoilers. So if you haven't finished the show yet, please go finish whatever episode you need to finish. Come right back and pick up the video where you need to pick up from, because this show is insane. I could not get over from the moment that this show started and Cyclops did that freaking beam right to the ground. That was, you knew what you were in for with this show. This show was gonna be to the wall. It was gonna be amazing. Every single week, this is the first show in a long time where I was actually sitting there going, so week to week, let's do this. Let's actually go. Some highlights for the animation though was definitely Nightcrawler. I've never in my life seen the transportation from place to place look so good and so crisp. These animators must be working to the bone because they are doing a killer job. I could not praise the work of the animation of this show any more than any other person could ever do. This show is crazy good visually. Story-wise, it's a little rushed through at points, but at the same time, you don't really want to be lingering on these stories because you do want to get to the next main plot of the story. And X-Men have so much history, there's no way you're going to be able to cover absolutely everything in the show's runtime. So giving a lot of things a little bit of a callback by bringing in certain X-Men or bringing in certain side characters from the Marvel Universe that you wouldn't see in any other circumstance. What are you going to do if you want to see Spider-Man right now? You're not getting another Spider-Man 97 show, and it's going to be a while before we get another Spider-Man movie. So here's a little bit of a taste of a Spider-Man in the suit and out of the suit. Guess what? He found Mary Jane. That's pretty freaking sweet. So honestly, if we get any more of these types of shows, I would like a Spider-Man one, but honestly, the one I would like the most would be a Black Panther show. That would be wicked. Because of the fact that they had T'Chaka, not T'Challa, they have the perfect opportunity to actually bring in their version of T'Challa and bring him up. I know Marvel's a little sketchy right now because of Chadwick Boseman, and even though that was a genuine tragedy, I think we have moved past the time needed in order to actually let the character become another character again. You can still pay homage to Chadwick Boseman and you can still show the respect that is needed, but Black Panther is one of the best superheroes. He's literally African's Captain America with Iron Man technology. This guy has the ability to do so much, and I am ready to see more of the Black Panther. But back to the show at hand. Honestly, this show, it hit me right in the childhood. Normally, I'm not a big fan of nostalgia these past few years, but nothing has hit like X-Men has hit. I cannot get over how well they put this show together. They had better bring the showrunner back for season 3. I know he's been fired and he was finished with season 2, but at the same time, I'm worried now that he's gone. They're going to mess around with season 2. It's not going to be what it is in season 1. Just bring him back. He got let go for a stupid reason. He shouldn't be gone for that. So let's pick up the proper show where it needs to be picked up with the right people to pick it up. I'm not going to go deep into like episode by episode, beat by beat. So if I miss something that you specifically wish was covered, I am genuinely sorry. Just slip it into the comments what you would like me to talk about. Maybe if we end up getting enough things that I missed, we can do a second video on this thing and we can create a nice little conversation in the community. I would love for that to happen. But starting off with the scene I talked about earlier with with the Sentinel attacking the X-Wing and then them going down, and everyone had the same thought. Cyclops, how you getting to the ground, man? See you on the ground? How are you getting to the ground? And then everyone collectively probably at the exact same point went, oh, he's not, oh, they're gonna do it. Oh, this is so cool. This is awesome. Oh man, they automatically made Cyclops a badass, and I could not get over it. This is so cool. I could not get over how awesome that landing was. And then to me, my X-Men. Then everyone swarms in, Morph coming in. I was like, it's good to see Morph back. Really sad that we didn't get to see him in the original show more. He was kind of used as like a plot armor device, or not plot armor, I'm sorry, what's the word I'm looking for? A MacGuffin? Because yeah, it was pretty much all he was at the beginning of the show. He was just pretty much like a MacGuffin. So like, he died, got brought back, and it's over. I haven't watched the entire X-Men 97 series. I did watch it almost on loop when I was a kid, though. I had a lot of it on VHS. So if I get something wrong about the original show, apologies. I'm trying my best to just remember off the top of the head. Storm crashing through the window on those mutating D-bags, that was... The way they portrayed Storm's powers in this entire show was visually spectacular. But honestly, the way they set her up at the beginning of the show, I was confused. Like, I thought she was going to play a bigger part in the finale, just because you went this entire thing where she was losing her powers, then she meets Forge, gets her powers back. You think she would play a bigger part in the finale as opposed to just being another X-Men that was there, right? You'd think she would have done something more. If I take nothing away from it, though, at least Storm going away and doing that did give a chance to bring in Forge. And Forge did play a big part in the finale, so... Although I do think they could have found a better way to get Forge in, besides just doing a thing that never really comes back, right? It's not like Bastion ended up having the ability to take all of their powers or anything like that. You think that just would have been something that he would have had available. I mean, a random goon had that gun. I know he had the mask, he was special outfit, but still, compared to everyone else, he's just a random goon, right? This guy was just made an example of out of Magneto like he was nothing. So, to me, he's just a nothing goon that just happens to know a little bit of extra Krav Maga. So, to me, I don't know. It's just odd to me. Do you think Bastion would have taken that technology and been able to at least take out a couple of the X-Men, right? I don't know. That was just sitting in my mind. I thought that was going to come back. It just didn't come back, and it was weird to me. Although I do really enjoy the way they used Mr. Sinister throughout the entire season. The way he started off by finding out that he kidnapped Jean Grey and gave us Madeline Pryor. That's what gave us Nathan, and that's what sent him off to the future. That's how we got Cable. And it just, the way they incorporated that throughout the entire season, I thought was genuinely very well done. It was one of the best parts of the season. And you knew once Cable showed up at the party on Genosha that it was going to come back at one point. Everyone knew the exact same thing was going to happen. He's going to try and come back. He's going to try and prevent it all. Honestly, I like the twist that it is a fixed point. I like the fact that they're keeping that throughout all of Marvel, whether it's live action, comic, or if it's any of the animated stuff. They are making fixed points a very specific part of the Marvel Universe. So Cable not being able to go back and save everybody on Genosha sucks, because honestly, I love Gambit. Gambit's the big guy on campus, but the one that kind of sucks the most for me is Leech. You know, Magneto made the promise, and you hope Magneto will be able to keep the promise, but man, watching that little lizard boy go up in flames really hit harder than you expect, don't you think? But either way, but we just we'll get back to the Genosha stuff in a little bit. But the way that they incorporated everything together is very well done. I'm very happy with how this season turned out, even though if there were a few things that I wasn't really particularly happy about, or I would have changed myself. If I wanted to make it a specific way, I'm gonna make my own show, right? That's what everybody likes to say, right? Oh well. But anyway, this show has so many ups, and when it's up, it's at a very high peak. When it has it down, it's it's even then, it's like it's not even very bad. Like to me, with I've seen a lot of people agree with the take that I have with this. It's the Motendo episode. The Motendo episode's kind of like weaker, if you ask me. I mean, it's not that I have anything against Jubilee. Jubilee was the character that I actually, as you're supposed to in the original show, like you grow to care about Jubilee because she's the point of view character that you're supposed to be dealing with. So I don't know. I always had a special connection with Jubilee. Not, I guess not special, but I always liked Jubilee because honestly, I expected her to grow up to be female Gambit. And I love Gambit. He is hands down the coolest character that you could have as an X-Men. The Cajun accent, the cocky little attitude that he's got, the relaxed ability, the fact that he has the seedy past, it's everything you need to make a really great character and a protagonist. So I'm one of those guys that when we were getting the Channing Tatum talks for Gambit movies, I was like, hey, Channing Tatum may not be my first choice, but I'm getting a Gambit movie. Let's go. I mean, I'll even take the guy that was in the freaking Wolverine movie. He wasn't the best, but he was all right. Friday Night Lights, he was good in that, so I'll take that. Even with the Motendo episode being weaker, though, I don't really find it as a bad episode, just because it gave a good chance for Roberto and Jubilee to actually come together, while also giving us a chance to see what Jubilee can potentially do in the future, and give her a chance to actually want to try more things instead of just throwing sparkle fists at everyone like pocket sand. Even with the episodes that are filler episodes, or whatever you want to call them, I still have a tendency to enjoy those because in those episodes it gives a good chance for character development. You're not really focused on the main plot. I know you really want to get to the main plot, you just want to be there right now, but having a good chance to give a reason to care about characters, to me, I'll always take that as a win. Except in Loki. That episode 4 was no. Alright, but I want to talk about probably one of my favorite scenes in the entire show, and that is Gambit's sacrifice. The name's Gambit, mon ami. Remember it. I mean, that to me was just like, it's just, he said the line. Him just launching that bike at Rogue, him just taking everything by himself. He's true badass. Best sacrifice I may have seen in film in quite a little bit of time, and we've seen some good ones over the past few years, so I'll give it that. That entire scene, from the moment that Cable shows up, you just go, oh no, something's bad about to happen, isn't it? And as soon as he gets ripped out and you just see Madeline just get vaporized pretty much. I think that was really the moment when you knew, this show it's gonna get dark, isn't it? This is gonna get some dark places. But honestly, if you're gonna make a show like this and you're gonna be dealing with the X-Men, you need to go some dark places, because the X-Men go some really dark routes sometimes in the comics, and even in the old show, they went some pretty dark places at times that I remember back, and I maybe should have needed some parental advisory watching that show, don't you think? Anything that was rated TV 7 back then was probably PG today. Let's be real. This entire Genosha scene was just crazy to me, and it's probably one of the best X-Men scenes that I can actually remember being put to film. And I'm talking across everything. One thing about the Genosha scene that I'm actually really happy I was wrong about, though, was I thought they killed Magneto. I actually thought Magneto was dead. I know it's obvious to see that he was gonna come back once they brought him back, and you see, well, he's a main character, you can't really just kill off Magneto, but they just killed off an entire island of mutants. The only character that we know really that they killed was Gambit. I mean, they even brought Emma Frost back. I am pretty happy, though, that I was wrong about Magneto. I thought Magneto was dead when they did the Genosha scene, but when he came back in that little extra where he was tied up, I actually breathed a sigh of relief, like, oh goodness, thank God, the psychopath's still alive. Oh man, we're gonna need him. So when he came back, I was pretty happy to see him. And holy boy, are we glad that he came back, because that planet-wide EMP that he pulled off, I mean, I knew Magneto was powerful. Like, we've seen in the comics how he pulled the adamantium out of Wolverine's body. He's done that in the show as well. That was a pretty sweet scene. I'm kind of curious on where that's actually going to lead, though, due to the fact that he still passed out on the table and he still had a nose. So let's see what happens there. Personally, my favorite part about the Genosha Fallout, though, is the decline that we get to see in Rogue. The fact that we actually get to see her justifiably go a little bit bonkers because she just lost the love of her life. She's in the middle of a mental complex between you love one person, but these old feelings are coming back for another person. And while you're in the middle of that conflict, the person that you love dies. I mean, you would feel a lot of guilt, a lot of personal guilt, because even though there's nothing you really could have done, the last memories you really have with that person are you guys not really seeing eye to eye and having a problem. So she's probably feeling a lot of personal problems there that they didn't get touched on in this season. But when they come back, I do believe that they're going to do the Gambit as one of the Horsemen of Apocalypse. So when they bring him back there, I think we're going to actually get to touch base on her emotional state and how she feels with her relationship with Gambit just before he passed away. I say passed away like he didn't just completely sacrifice himself in the most epic explosion. Her little rampage also got to introduce us to Captain America for the first time in this universe. And when that shield came in, I got excited. When the dollar store version of his theme song started playing, less so. But still, seeing Captain America come in was freaking cool. Everyone's always asking you, Team Iron Man, you Team Cap? 100% I am 100% Team Cap because, I don't know, man. Tony's done too many things wrong and blamed too many other people besides himself. And I know this is going to get a lot of hate for that, but that's just my opinion on that one. Although, later on in the season, when he comes back, I'm not sure how I feel about him being okay with sending missiles at an asteroid that's hovering above an American city. Because come on, like they said in the show, it's like, we didn't have enough missiles to destroy it. You think you'd get those calculations in properly. You think Captain America and freaking Iron Man right beside him would have those numbers figured out. You know, like, is this about this size? In order to turn to atoms so it doesn't destroy the city below, we'll probably have to turn to dust. So we need X amount of TNT dynamite nukes to get it done. And I don't know. Getting math wrong? Actually, maybe that is up Tony Stark's alley because that guy cannot help but screw things up when he's trying to help. And before anybody says it, no, I do not hate Iron Man. He's literally the reason we have the MCU. He's the reason that we're getting everything that we have now. So props to Robert Downey Jr. and props to the character of Iron Man for being such a resurgence for comic book movies and the reason we have the MCU today as we have it. But at the same time, throughout the MCU, he has been written as, if not the villain, but the creator of the villains. I mean, Cillian Murphy, all the way up to freaking a Spider-Man villain of Vulture and Mysterio. Well, Tony, we're going to figure out how you screwed this guy over. We'll get right back to you. He's going to be your villain, but we're also going to make him other people's villains as well. Jake Gyllenhaal. So, I mean, almost every villain created in the MCU has been created because, or in part to, freaking Iron Man. Let's not even get me started on Ultron. One of the seasons that's actually very close second for me for my favorite scene is that scene when Magneto finally gets busted out of that little weird kink prison that Bastion has him held in. I mean, why is he in his underwear? I mean, cloth doesn't have metal in it, so Bastion, we know what you're up to, man. I mean, a lot of us would have the same opinion because, let's be honest, old man Magneto in this show, I mean, straight man, still would. But the scene where he escapes and he goes to the North Pole, he's just like, enough. And he ends up doing an entire planet-wide EMP that shut down electronics permanently. I mean, I understand he's ripped metal out of Wolverine. I understand that he's done some pretty crazy stuff, but that is a mutant ability that is, I mean, I use the term overpowered a bit, but that's overpowered, man. To be able to completely shut down like 50% of what heroes are able to do. He completely took Iron Man out of the picture. Iron Man's done. He's useless now. Like, he's not touching anybody. But that being the thing that forces Charles to pretty much break his one rule with Magneto as his best friend and forcefully take over his mind and make him do what needs to be done. He's a sketchy character sometimes, but having him do something like this to someone that he claims to love, and you know it's true. That's not just a false thing that he says. Like, he's his best friend and questionably more. But at the same time, it's, you believe it, right? They're natural together. You would picture that if they were to be more than just the closest of friends, you would absolutely buy it. You would absolutely accept it because they're literally always together. They are like that bickering couple that keeps breaking up and getting back together, breaking up and getting back together. And all of a sudden you're like, why are you still with this person? They're literally throwing stadiums at innocent civilians. I can save him. I swear. He's a good person. I know deep down inside, he has murdered hundreds of thousands of people. He has tortured people. He's a good person. I swear. Magnus is a genuine person, and I know if we bring him around, he can kill people again. No, he's a good guy. They could have taken their relationship in a few different directions, but I'm glad they went in the direction where even the good guy has to cross the line. The thing about Magneto and Charles's relationship is they're the exact same person, just literally the opposite side of the coin. They're both willing to do unspeakable things in order to get the goal that they have. Eric is willing to kill when necessary. He's willing to put fear and intimidation on the table when very much necessary. But at the same time, Charles is willing to do the same thing. He's coming off like he's saying, he's just like, you need to do this yourself or I will force you to do it. That is the same thing that Magneto is doing, just on the other side. And it is for a good cause, but at the same time, it's the exact same action. So being able to see the exact same action butting together in such a manner where they're still opposing, that's such a good way to go about it, where you see where both of them are coming from. Eric has been through a lot of stuff. He's been through a lot of problems when it came from anything from the Second World War to watching all the mutants die, to watching all his family die, to watching Leech die on Genosha after he made that promise that he would never be scared or never be hurt or any problems would ever come his way. It's such a hard-hitting scene for such a hard-hitting character, and everything that all these characters have gone through this entire season builds up perfectly, minus Storm, through the entire finale. I didn't really touch on Bastion very much, pretty much because he's kind of just like an afterthought. Honestly, I had more of a connection with the villain of Sinister than I did with Bastion, but at the same time, I don't know. Bastion to me just kind of came across as interesting at the start, but by the end he just kind of became a bland, honestly, cyber. If you ever seen that show Gargoyles, remember when they cloned Goliath and they have like a metal version of Goliath? It just reminded me of that, and I don't know, it hit weird, it looked weird. I didn't like the fact that he could heal his body and he was immune to everything until he just wasn't, until everyone just started hitting him over and over, and then all of a sudden he just could heal up. It's like, maybe it's just like he needs a certain amount of time to heal, but I don't know. They just show him taking damage and immediately healing, so I don't see why he wasn't able to heal up in the middle of hits and battle. Like, I don't know. It just seemed weird to me that just like, we wrote ourselves into the corner with him being able to heal himself, so we need to now have him take some damage in order to get him taken out, so he can just take damage now. If I were to give him a villain like ranking or like specific, like on scale with other villains, I don't know, I wouldn't put him down with Taskmaster, but I wouldn't put him up with a Loki either. He was a good one season villain. Now that he's done, let him be done. He's gone. If he comes back, let him be the villain that everyone quickly gets rid of. to prove that we have a stronger villain coming in. But after the final fight with Bastion, that's when we end up getting that missile scene with Captain America and Iron Man sitting in the White House, where they decide that they want to launch a bunch of missiles at the asteroid M. So, I don't know. I'm not really a big fan of Captain America being up for something like that, because he's the type of person, from the character that I'm aware of, from the comics that I've read, and especially from the MCU version, which I know that this character isn't really taking much from, but like virtue and stuff like that. Captain America isn't a person that just cares about American lives. He cares about all lives. And Captain America being willing to just throw missiles at a bunch of lives that are on a space station, even though he himself has stated that they don't know very much about it, that just seems a little bit out of character for Captain America. And if you wanted that scene to work better, probably should have taken Captain America out of that. It would have worked really well to have T'Chaka and Iron Man being the ones to call that shot, and then have Captain America, if you're going to have him in the room, him being the one saying, I'm not sure about this doesn't really seem right, those are innocent lives on that space station, we can't just throw those away. So I don't know, it just seemed odd and out of place for a Captain America scene. But this isn't the Captain America show, this is the X-Men, so sometimes you might have a character that you're used to act a little bit out of character in order to further the plot for the other characters. So I'm a little irked about it, just because it's weird and out of place, but at the same time, yeah, some of these punches you just gotta roll with, you just gotta accept, and just in order to help push the plot along. And that's just one of those things. But all that leads to Magneto coming out of the psychic damage that Charles just did in order to force him to fix everything. And he comes out and he ends up trying to save the entire asteroid. But we don't know what happens. All we know is Bishop says later on that they got pulled from time by somebody. We do not know what that was. It could have been Apocalypse, because after they go back in time, they end up meeting Apocalypse before he becomes the actual Apocalypse, back when he's still living in Egypt. So I don't know, like this could be something that, because they got sent back in time, the thing that caused them to go back in time has happened. In one of those weird time loop wormhole things that doesn't make sense if you think about it for more than a second, because it makes smoke start building out of your side of your ears, and nobody wants that at all. Or this could lead to an entirely new villain that we don't even know yet. It could be any X-Men villain that we've had from the past that has to do with time travel. So I'm not really sure which one it could be, but my guess right now is that it is the Apocalypse thing. I do have a feeling that because they went back in time, it's going to have a ripple effect that's going to change the way that Apocalypse lived his life, and he's going to see all these X-Men, and he's going to get the idea that mutants are the superior being and they need to replace humans. So I have a feeling that's what's going to happen. If I'm wrong, like most likely, which I will be, but at the same time, I would not be surprised if I'm right on that, due to the fact that they do like to interweave villains that we do not understand at the beginning into the end, and I cannot see them making Apocalypse just somebody's side character like they did with Sinister and Bastion. So I would like to see where they take this, but I'm a little tentative on what they're going to be doing with Apocalypse moving forward. Just because it involves time travel now, and every time time travel gets involved with characters across time like Apocalypse, it can tend to get muddy. So fingers crossed that we end up getting a nice solid story continuation in the second season, and fingers crossed that we get the showrunner back to continue on with the third season, because the way that they set up from first to second in this one, that's the type of way I like shows to shut down a season. It is nice to have like that big final battle, but at the same time, it's nice to actually be able to have a reason to stick around, like the cliffhanger of how did they get to Egypt, how did Scott and Jean end up going to the future, where like this will be interesting, because now if they don't tell Nathan that he's their parents or that they're his parents, then something is going to get changed in the timeline, because he grew up without his parents at all. So them being now sent to the future, that now changes Nathan So when he now comes back, it's again like it's time travel. It makes your brain hurt. It makes you smoke. This is why they need to write the good show. I'm just out here giving some opinions and critiques on it. That's all that is. Although I do enjoy at one point of the show where they're at the final fight and they're about to fight Bastion, and Scott just looks at him and tries talk no jutsu. He decides to pull out Naruto, and he decides that he wants to like, Bastion, this is not how it's supposed to go. You could have, and like, he tries the whole like, you could join us, like it's not too late type of thing. And yeah, I love Naruto. I'm a big fan of that, but every time it gets brought up in another show, it's just, that's the first thing you think of. Although, like I mentioned earlier in the video, Nightcrawler has hands down the best animation in this entire show. The way they were able to control his movements while doing the actual like teleportation and also incorporating sword fighting into actual fighting styles for the it was so fluid. It was one of the best adaptations I've ever seen for the character. And all I'm hoping is that when they come back, I want all the Nightcrawler. I want him in the main title card. I want him in the main cast. I want him on the show all the time. Nightcrawler is an absolute badass in this show, and he deserved more time in the original show. Even though we didn't get it, I'm really glad we're getting it now. I think if I remember correctly, he's only in like 2 or 3 actual episodes from the original show. So having this much Nightcrawler when he is such a favorite of mine, like that's really cool to see, because honestly, he's the best. He's got such a cool power mixed with such good acrobatics, and the fact that he is a former circus performer, he can actually do with juggling, all that. He's a very talented little demon man, and I love the little man for it. Always the best. Also, the fact that the intro would change ever so slightly every single episode, it added to the effect. I mean, because even in the old X-Men show, it was just the same title card every single episode, didn't change. Exact same one. We all remember the exact same and the video to go along with it. You can picture it right now in your head, the original show. But in this new one, they keep the theme, but they add a little bit of a back base to it, which is takes a bit of getting used to. But to me, it's as soon as you're like 2-3 episodes in, you're used to it. It's still not there. It's still not 100%, but at the same time, it's still the theme song, and I'll accept that theme song every single day. But the fact that they would change like actual title cards in it, like when the original Jean shows up, and you find out that we've had Madeline the entire time. In the first episode title card, you see Madeline and she's got her hair down in the intro card. But then in the next episode, when we find out that Jean is there, when she ends up having her hair up in the ponytail. So little stuff like that is really cool to see. And then also when you add characters in, take them out, like you're adding a Nightcrawler into the title card, like it's just a lot of fun. It's such a cool little show. It's such a little tidbit that I'm really happy that we're getting right now. In a time when everyone's kind of sick of Marvel movies, and Deadpool's just around the corner, having stuff like this that's really good and able to give hype again towards all the stuff that's coming out, like you literally just have to throw your hands up in the air and go, it's like, maybe they can do it again. Maybe they can bring it back. Like, you're still hesitant. You're not 100% sure about it, but like, what can you do? They're actually doing a very good job again, and I'm very happy to see the product that they produced with this show. Am I saying everything that they put out now is going to be the X-Men 97 series? Oh no, they've proven that they can put out some really big stinkers in this past few years. I know She-Hulk has gotten a lot of hate over the past little while, but aside from the last episode, I'm honestly not that big of a hater of it, because it gave me something that was different than everything else. It was goofy. It was a law show. I could have used more law office stuff, but all in all, like I'd give that show a solid 6 out of 10. So I mean, it's not bad. It's not a bad show, but again, like it's not great. Like the reason why we fell in love with MCU and stuff like that, but it's not a terrible show, and it still deserves a bit of praise where it belongs. But I will admit it though, they have put out some stinkers over the past few years. And stuff like this gives me hope. I have a lot of hope for the next Deadpool movie, I know Ryan Reynolds has a big part in that, and he's gonna do a really great job in making sure that that movie gets the proper time and everything that it needs to make sure that movie is properly done. He seems like the guy that wants to make sure that he makes a proper trilogy, and he's not gonna let anything ruin the way he makes these movies. I'm not gonna call it a Marvel resurgence, just due to the fact that even though they have been putting out some stinkers in the past few years, they have been dropping some really great projects as well. Like the Guardians of the Galaxy 3, that movie was phenomenal. Werewolf by Night, if you have not watched Werewolf by Night, please, I encourage you as much as I possibly can, go watch it. Preferably in the black and white version, just because it does give you that nice gritty feel that a lot of colored movies don't really give you. But all in all, X-Men 97, hands down, one of the best shows that I have seen of any X-Men property ever. Just ever. The animation is 10 out of 10. I would not change a single thing. The first episode, when I was getting into it, the thicker dark lines took a little bit of a second to get used to, but the way they play everything together with the, like, from Nightcrawler's teleporting to the beam that comes out of Scott's eyes to even just like the little blue light that goes over, that carried over from the 90s show when Jean and Professor X are using their powers. Like, all the little animation ticks that they have is just, well, I would not change a single thing about the animation. Honestly, the dialogue, there are certain things that are kind of corny about the dialogue, but let's be honest, like, if you read out loud a lot of comic book dialogue, it comes across as corny, cheesy, and you wouldn't really say that in real life. But we give it a pass because of the fact that it is comic books. Are we expecting something phenomenal with the dialogue? No, we know what to expect. But at the same time, if we're given it, we're not going to complain. It's going to be something that it'll be just like the cherry on top. Like the Winter Soldier. Winter Soldier was a fantastic movie that it had compelling dialogue along with the entire plot. So they are able to do it. They're able to put it together, but it's just lacking sometimes when you are dealing with a cartoon show. The proper use of all the characters, you have your main focus of your characters of Scott, Jean, a little bit of Madeline at the beginning, but there is no one specific person that is the main focus. And that's honestly been the best thing about the X-Men, because you can have your favorite character, but they're not going to be on screen all the time. You're going to have this entire rotating cast of main characters. Like for myself, going from losing Gambit, to now from him we have Nightcrawler. I went from one of my favorite characters to another one of my favorite characters. And then having other favorite characters of mine like Rogue. Rogue is one of those characters that in the original 90s, the thing that really hooked me to her was the Miss Marvel episode, when we find out that she got her powers from Miss Marvel, and like Miss Marvel was like locked inside her head. As a kid, you didn't really understand why that episode sticks with you. When you rewatch it as an adult, you kind of go back just like, oh, mentally scarring. That's why. Totally stealing somebody's identity. That's why. It's a lot, but it's one of those episodes that really makes you like understand the character of Rogue, and like she was a bad person, and like I don't know, they carried that entire character through to now, and just I don't know, the way they use all the characters is really well done. Minus Storm. How I said earlier in the episode, I should have been talking about Storm so much more in this entire review. But the fact that she came in at a certain point, but then she just got her powers taken away. Then she becomes the tagline at the end of every episode for a couple episodes. And then when she comes back, she's just there. She's just an X-Men on the roster again. And they got more use out of Forge after they brought him in, right? Because he was the one actually like helping with technology. Storm was just like, hey guys, I brought somebody that can help fix things. Hank, here's your assistant. It just seems like they could have done more with her, and that's honestly probably my biggest gripe with this entire season. And moving forward, getting more Storm, I hope that we actually get more character development from her as like an actual leader type of the X-Men, because personally, I know Scott is the leader after Xavier, but personally, Storm is such a badass that I'd be absolutely okay with she would lead the X-Men. Like, why not? Like, when she says, "Child, do not speak," child, do not speak. Do not tempt that woman. She will mess you up. She is not a woman to be trifled with. You respect Storm. She's a goddess for a reason. But when it comes down to it, we got one question we need to ask: is it hot? Is it cold? And I gotta say, when it comes to X-Men, it's hot, man. It's X-Men. Like, Avengers are just being pushed out the door now, and X-Men are coming in that door. Hey, nice little roomy in here. I think we got some space for some more people in here. It's fantastic. It's a really great show. Fantastic start to bring potentially an entire universe back. They did so much with so many different people. If I know one thing from Marvel, is when they do side character introductions, they're usually testing them out to see how people react to them and see what they can give them in the future. There's a very good chance we're going to be getting a Daredevil show, we're going to be getting a Spider-Man show, we're going to be getting a Black Panther show, and as I said earlier, that's the one I want the most. If I could get myself a Black Panther show that deals with the upcoming of T'Challa and everything that Wakanda has to deal with, from going from secluded to being able to adjust to actually like dealing with world problems as well, to me that's a major win. If we can get more of these types of shows with this type of animation, this could be the next best MCU, right? Everyone's trying to get it, like, we could have like what movies, but honestly, with TV shows that are structured like this, put together with this type of storytelling, and actually has solid character development, this could be the next best MCU. This could be the next universe that everyone's just, when is the next season going to drop? When's the next this going to happen? Who's going to come in? Who's going to get another show? Who's going to team up? Are we going to get crossover episodes? I mean, the CW proved it with The Flash and Arrow. You can do crossover episodes where you get other people brought in and you do full arcs, including both shows. So we could get, like back in the original Spider-Man show, we could get Daredevil teaming up with Spider-Man, but for more than just a couple episodes, we could get an entire arc with them teaming up together and actually having them possibly taking on Kingpin, which, if you could imagine Daredevil and Spider-Man versus Kingpin in an animation show of the style of X-Men 97, I mean, take my money. That's just something I want, I need. Please and thank you. But anyway, guys, that's my opinion. Thanks for sticking around. I know this was a little bit of a longer video due to the fact that it was an entire season review. I'm trying not to do an entire season review just because it involves taking notes for an entire series and then trying to do it all together. This episode is a little bit more wishy-washy with how the structure is going to be, but I'm very happy with how the show turned out. Tell me what you guys think about the show down below. What was your favorite part? What was your least favorite part? Who's your favorite character? What's a character that you're sad didn't get more screen time? Like, for me, it was Storm. I would have loved to see more Storm actually playing a contributing factor to the story. Like, let me know. What do you guys want to see from next season? Who do you think is going to be helping Apocalypse? If Apocalypse is the main antagonist, who's going to be his horseman? Gambit, I have a feeling, is going to be one just because of the playing card aspect. But who do you think the other three could possibly be? But please, leave a comment down below. Drop a thumbs up on the video. Please subscribe to the channel if you guys want to see more videos like this. Share it around. I will be doing more videos of this matter where I will be doing more Marvel movies, DC movies. The upcoming Deadpool movie I will be covering for sure. But on top of that, I'll also be doing some anime shows where, if you are a fan of anime, I will be doing One Piece reviews along with My Hero Academia and other animes that I'm trying to catch up with as well. I'm just looking forward to building a strong, healthy community with you guys and be able to talk about everything that is going on in the world of Marvel, DC, and anime. And until then, love you guys.